Get your hands up, get on the ground, don't move. That's what I've heard, what I've seen, and what folks that look like me experience on a daily basis. We've been saying, yelling, screaming. They do this to us all the time, but now people are seeing it. In this moment right here, right now, we have a responsibility. The responsibility is to make sure that history is written and the truth is told for generations that are coming after us, to fight the lies, the spin zone, and the narrative that being black automatically means criminal. How do we do that? By documentation. My first two books were about people, real everyday folks. I would sit with them in a coffee shop or grab lunch and just listen to them. I loved it. The stories, the tales, the anecdotes, what they had to say, how they would say it, why they would say it. Such a beautiful thing. In my life, I've been continuously inspired by author Studs Terkel. He once said, storytelling is a form of history, of immortality. It goes from one generation to another. Coming from that, one of my main philosophies in writing has always been for the truth to be presented, no matter the cost. When we don't do this, so much is lost. The grit of the truth and the rawness of the people get sanitized or trashed and replaced with lies. How come we didn't learn about Black Wall Street in school? Marsha P. Johnson, who kicked off Stonewall. Why don't we all know how great Ida B. Wells is? Or that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King pressed the United States for reparations? No, we got a different history. That is what is happening today. Throughout history, black people have been unjustly viewed as violent criminals. The Birth of a Nation portrayed us as mindless brutes. Various texts have described African Americans as primal beings, our lives totally misrepresented and fabricated. When I realized I have a passion for writing and began to talk about my life and everything that's unfolding around me, I vowed that I would be one of the scribes that makes it known to the world what being black is all about. I would be a beacon for the truth. I realized how important documentation was in 2012. Trayvon Martin, a young black man walking home, was stalked, attacked, and killed by a racist coward. When the story hit the news, many people automatically jumped to the conclusion that Trayvon had to be doing something wrong, that Trayvon had to be committing some crime, that Trayvon had to be a thug. Newspapers, columnists, everyday folks painting him as a violent criminal when he was just walking home. I knew it was our responsibility to challenge the narrative of a young black man not being seen as a happy, smart, high-achieving student, but as an angry criminal. I knew we had to get our point of view out and let people in the world know that this ain't nothing new. We've been going through this since we were brought here. Now, however, we're picking up the pen and recording what's happening with our phones. In 2020, we've seen an uprising, an eruption of rage and anger. People wanting justice for an unarmed black man killed. George Floyd snuffed out in front of our eyes. And what some may say, oh, they're using the excuse to riot and loot. The difference is we control the narrative. We are in charge of our essays, films, songs, and photographs. We are writing the story. What's happening right now can't be tossed, twisted, or erased. All around the world, people are coming face to face with racism. Why? Because we're documenting it. What people are seeing, reading, and hearing about cannot be disputed. Not only is our experience being seen, but we're part of the reason why. When we turn on the news, browse the internet, and read the daily news, you realize there's so much misinformation out there. People being misrepresented, words being twisted, facts being omitted, and just straight up bullshit. The way we're gonna counter this tidal wave of lies is with the truth. How do we get the truth? By documentation. It's absolutely vital. How do we capture the moment? Documentation. How do we properly teach the youth? Documentation. How do we save the past and present it as a gift to the future? By documentation. We're not going to fight the lies and propaganda with more lies and propaganda. No. We're going to fight it with documentation. The great Malcolm X said that the truth is on the side of the oppressed, and we have that. But we must be deliberate and purposeful about capturing the moment. We cannot leave it for chance. In this moment, right here, right now, we are witnessing history. It is literally being made before our eyes, and it's up to us to capture it. Memories deserve to be saved. The generation after us needs to see this, hear this, read this, and experience this. I don't want my story, our story, to be wiped away and replaced with something that is not true. You know, there are people out there that are doing things like trying to write slavery out of textbooks. It's a little crazy. They're attempting to tell you that men like Stanley Tookie Williams were nothing but criminals and not flawed men who love their community. They're suggesting that George Floyd, Eric Garner, Philando Castile, Jacob Blake, and Breonna Taylor were resisting. That is why the police shot them. They're literally trying to change what happened. It sounds ridiculous, I know, but it is being attempted before our very eyes. I cannot stress enough how important this moment is. I want people to look back on this moment and see what occurred, how we were really living, how life really unfolded. Sojourner Truth once said, truth is power, and it prevails. And I think about that being in a world of fake news and disregarding anyone's experience who doesn't fit into this box of white and privilege. I realize we all have responsibility and ownership in this. So that means we gotta start writing, making movies, creating music, giving talks, and documenting our life. We have to challenge the narrative, because if we don't, the real history will not be told. We gotta shout over this current wave of silences. We have to document our experience as if our life depends on it, because, well, it does.